Hello, how are you doing today? Welcome back to the DIY Homefront. And today I'm going to be working on a welding cart. Now I've already got one, but I bought a plasma cutter and it just won't fit on it. But before I show you the plasma cutter, how about if I show you the welding cart? So there we have it. Now we've got the plasma cutter. But as you can see, it's just too big to fit on there. So I think the solution is going to be to build a new top. Go ahead and cut this off and turn that into another shelf. Because in addition to the plasma cutter, I've got a generator. And I thought it would be pretty cool if I could hook this up to a generator so I wouldn't have to do everything right next to the house. So everything that I want to put on that shelf or that drawer is all right here. A power cable for the generator, an adapter for 110 as opposed to 240, and then those are the bags that came with the new plasma cutter. Because not only is it a plasma cutter, it's also a TIG and stick welder. So there we have it. Let's see if we can improve upon this. Well, I've got the table saw out and it's time to cut the wood. And here's the scrap piece of wood I'm going to use. It was a shelf from before. It needs to be 17.5 by 31.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece of wood down to size. I always end up cutting it a little bit wide and then trimming up the other side, especially when I'm using scraps. Because this particular scrap already had a bevel in it from something else. So 17.5. There's a golden rule that says measure twice, cut once. I didn't follow that rule. I had to get another piece of wood. Okay, let's see if I can cut this one right this time. Measure twice, cut once. Okay, it's 18.5, which should give me plenty to trim off. Plenty wide now. I save a lot of scraps. This plywood I won't keep, but this solid piece of yellow pine I will, because it will come in handy or something later down the road. Let's see how we're doing on this. I think it's lined up and we're getting the perfect width, both sides. Let's cut it to the right length. Safety first. I'm not saying my way's the right way. Follow whatever the owner's manual says. There's the mark and there's the blade. I think we're spot on. I think I'm gonna end up doing a 5-inch border around it and then put the shelf in the middle of that. That'll give it a lip to keep anything falling off, and that'll raise it up some so the shelf or the drawer that's underneath it is a little bit higher so I can get my hands in there. And sorry if I keep looking around. I'm waiting for the school bus to get here so my grandson can get off. I've got to meet him. Time to sand these up so we can get them glued together. Okay, now I need to get these two ends on before I cut the last pieces because I want to make sure I get the measurements just right. Alrighty. It looked like it could rain, so I had to put some stuff away. And then I waited for the grandkids to get off the school bus. And they are home and safe, and now I'm back to it. So what I ended up doing was I cut a couple small pieces to get my height right so that my shelf would lay level. And then I screwed them in. And now all I'll have to do is set my shelf on it. And when I glue the pieces on the ends, I know they're going to be in the right place, at the right height. So it just saves a lot of time. I like using Gorilla Glue. I love this stuff. I love it better when it comes out, but I love this stuff. If you don't use it, it'll sort of clog up in the end. There we go. It's polyurethane based and it's water activated. So you need to wet the surfaces some before you put the glue on. Otherwise, you won't get quite as good of a bond. I have found that in the humid south down here, it thickens and you can put some mineral spirits and it will help keep it from getting so thick that it won't come out. Just like you'd think thin up a paint. I'm sure there's a better way than using your finger to do this. I'm sure of that. But that's what I is doing. And it's awful thick. I could probably put some mineral spirits in it. Nope, I thought I was going to get that in one stroke and I didn't. That's a bunch. You hear the puppy dogs in the background? It always gets a little louder after school. You're ready. Line it up and stick it on. That's all there is to it. Take some clamps. And as quick as 1, 2, 3, we'll have this done. if the glue bubbles up, which it normally does, at least when I put it on heavy. It just takes some sandpaper and we'll go along because we're going to paint this black. I specifically did not mark these pieces because I wanted to wait until I had them on so I could draw a line and get them cut exactly where I wanted them. This is probably not recommended. This is a self-taught trick because the big bottle's so much cheaper than the small ones. But then again, what good is having a big bottle if you can't use it? I made this mistake one time. You know, it doesn't take much. Like maybe just a couple of capfuls. I made a mistake one time of using some real fancy, environmentally sound mineral spirits, not realizing that it was a water-based product and that was supposed to be what made it so green. But this polyurethane reacts with water. So I didn't do myself any favor. The next time I went to glue something together, my bottle had expanded and it was just one big clump of glue. I'm gonna go get a couple more clamps and keep shaking this. All right, let's wet the wood. I am not sure. That's the front, not the back. Where it's going to hit this. So I'm just going to wet the whole board, pretty much. Let's see if my trick helped at all. It did help quite a bit. Here we go. Can't mess with myself. Because where it's not perfect, we could caulk it if we wanted to, but more likely 2 good coats of paint are going to fix all my imperfections. Here we go. Okay. Front. There we go. Perfect. Okay, we are all clamped up. I ran out of clamps, so I ended up combining 2 together. Can you see the way I did that? I've got one connected to another so that I can get it to the other side. Now the next step is, now that I've got this on, is to go ahead and remove a chunk so that way we can put our shelf in. And now we've got to let it dry for like a day, and then we can sand it and paint it, and that'll be tomorrow. So the cart's coming along. I've cut the front off where the new drawer is going to be. I've made the measurement. It's going to be 15.5 inches deep by 26 inches wide. It's a humid morning and I'm getting started, and the first thing to do is to take off all the clamps and get the parts sanded. What I've done is I've marked this. I put some brackets to hold it in place so that my door can be the whole distance. It'll make the door a lot deeper. A lot deeper. What I've done is I've taken a notch out of the bottom of the front so I can make the drawer front bigger. You can see here by the opening how the drawer is going to slide out. So what I've done is I've taken the painted black top shelf and now I'm gluing it in. I've glued the bottom and the sides of that piece, and now I've clamped it. This will ensure that the piece of wood is clamped from the sides and from the top to the bottom, so the drawer should be pretty solid. As a homeowner, there's plenty of projects to do, and I'm sure you'll have plenty of projects too. So please like and subscribe, and maybe we can get through some of these projects together. Gonna give everything a nice light sand before I put any paint on it. When I built the cart, the middle shelf was just held in place with 4 screws, one on each edge. So I've taken the screws out, and now I'm centering the shelf between the top and the bottom and putting the screw back in. There goes another car. The postman just came by. It's time to go check the mailbox. And I'm going to go ahead and change the shirt because I have sweated through this one. The next step will be to do some painting. And I will try to get the camera angles maybe a little bit more exciting. I've always used the same kind of paint on anything wood that's outdoors, and that's Rust-Oleum black gloss. The gloss is easy to clean, the black doesn't show dirt, and the oil-based, particularly oil-based, holds up extremely well outside. You don't have to worry about it flaking or peeling. It just does really good. So the next thing to do will be to paint that. I also have a couple other pieces I need to paint. I sort of stack stuff up. With oil-based paints, a lot of times you have to throw the brush away when you get done. You can only clean it so many times with mineral spirits. But we'll see what we can get done. And I'll be back with a new camera angle. All right, I've had lunch and it's time to get back to work. Let's start painting. Never hurts to stir any paint up. You can't shake it, but if the can's half empty, I would prefer to stir it, because that way I can feel if there's anything stuck to the bottom, any thick stuff. I prefer to use paintbrushes. If there's any dirt or trash or anything that's on the wood, if you use a paintbrush, you're going to sort of mix the paint around it. You're going to mix the dirt into it, and it's not going to want to flake or peel off. Just like putting sand and paint before you put it on a porch or steps. These pieces are for another project for my wagon. I've got a lawnmower, cart, wagon, whatever you want to call it. But I will just get a painting and we can go to the fast forward. I'm sure everybody knows how to paint. All right, there you have it. It's the morning of day 3. I've got 3 coats of paint on it. The next step is going to be to put on the hardware for the slide out drawer, and then we can put the drawer front on it. The middle shelf is now lower. I made it so that I could move it up and down when I first built it, and I don't keep the same products on the bottom that I used to, so I don't need as much room. But you can see we've got a nice place for our welder and our plasma cutter, and we're going to have a nice drawer.